Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Backyard Tabletop. We are so glad that you have joined us today. I am one of your humble co-hosts, Jacob.
And I'm Kurtis.
We are incredibly grateful for you joining us today. If you are just joining us for the first time, this is a D&D podcast that Kurtis and I...
And this is how
We'll,
I always talk on the show if you're joining us for the first time.
It does have the pacing a little bit odd when I talk normal and kind of fast, and Kurtis is really slow
It takes
and
me like
maybe a little
30 seconds
methodic
to respond to every message. That's why our podcast is so long. We don't
Yeah,
talk
exactly.
about anything. It just takes me a minute to say anything.
It's actually in post. I will go in and just speed him up.
You
So
cut out all of the little breaks I do. It's a lot of work.
you just sound normal.
Yep.
Well, if you are just joining us for the first time, we are a D&D podcast. We like to talk about things related to Dungeons and Dragons. Typically our home games. Kurtis is in a home game. I'm in a home game. We are best friends, but we're not in each other's games, just with how schedules work and things like that. So we use this podcast as a way to catch each other up on those. But also we like to go through adventures. We are currently going through Fandelver and Below adventure. We just started chapter 5, and Kurtis has been running a game, a group of players through that. So we've been doing that, as well as wow, I'm a little out of breath. Let me just take a second.
Take your time, man. There's not actually anybody watching. like here. There's nobody. We're not live.
Right, in this moment. Right. Okay. Oh, thank you.
Sorry, I don't mean that nobody watches our show. I just mean there's nobody here right now.
Oh, there's that one person that is watching that's like, but I'm here. Wait. No,
okay.
we do appreciate you. We do. We get some views. I think our average on the podcast is like 3 or 4 minutes, though. So we may still have them yet. There's most people are still watching at this point. So right now they're clicking away. We also do just first impressions of stuff. I will randomly ask Kurtis questions, and today I kind of want to just do first impressions of something I saw on D&D Beyond, because coming in May is going to be a new adventure called Vecna, the Eve of Ruin. And I mean, Vecna is a huge boss in D&D for years, probably thrusted into the spotlight with campaign 1 of Critical Role, which was a fantastic kind of introductory to Vecna. This one seemed really interesting, though, Kurtis.
Yeah.
Because for 2 reasons, at least for me, that kind of caught my attention. Right off the bat, it says it's a level 10 through a level 20 adventure.
Yeah.
So
very unusual.
Yeah, a little unusual from Wizards of the Coast. I feel like it's been ages since Wizards of the Coast actually released an adventure that went to level 20. I mean, to be fair, I really think only third-party adventures actually go to level 20. I think even like Pathfinder does like level 17. So I feel like it's rare that we see that 20th level in adventures. So that was kind of cool right off the bat. And also level 10 is kind of nice because I think it could pair with other adventures, because most of the time Wizard of the Coast does like level 1 to level 5, and then if they do go up to certain levels, like 12 will kind of be the highest you might see.
Right.
So I think it would pair really nicely with those. But you haven't really seen a whole lot about this, right?
I just looked at like the digital pre-order page. I haven't read any sort of like topics about it. I know usually when they put things up for pre-order and stuff, they'll release like a little blog spot with it to like talk about it a little bit and stuff. I haven't seen any of that stuff. Just looking at the page here, I mean, it looks pretty awesome. I wonder if this is supposed to be like a like a companion release for the new edition of D&D.
Possibly.
And so maybe we're gonna see that in as early
Yeah.
as May, because that's when this
Now,
is coming out.
yeah, this one's as early as May. I mean, it's very possible. I will note the past like few things that we've got from Wizards of the Coast have been adventures. They haven't come out with any new subclasses lately, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. So I think something I am
Not a lot of new player
noticing,
options.
not a whole lot of new player options I'm seeing. There's been a lot of monsters being released, with like Fendelver and Below released a bunch of new variants, and then I know like Bisbee's Hand released. They also had the recent like Mordecai-Nine's Monsters of the Multiverse or something like
Right.
that. So they've been releasing a lot of DM side stuff, and I think, to be fair, that probably there was probably a few years
Yeah.
there where that was starting to
Well,
lack.
and-
They were focusing more on players.
And the last thing they released that was like tons of player character stuff was Tasha's Cauldron, which was
Right.
huge.
Huge.
Basically rewrote how you create characters and things like that entirely.
True.
So it kind of makes sense.
Lineages and stuff.
That was kind of the last big thing they did before they moved on to what I assume to be most of everyone there working on. What is it called? D&D Next? Why does my brain? I can't remember what it's called.
One D&D.
One D&D. I was like D&D
Yeah.
more, D&D Next. What is it? I can't remember. One D&D.
Yeah. Which I don't know if they're actually moving forward with that. To be fair, I think I've
The
seen
name?
a couple things where, yeah, I think they've
kind
done
of a
away with
placeholder?
One D&D. I could
Oh,
be
really?
wrong on that. I just haven't seen One D&D in a long time because I think it was getting a little confusing. But
Yeah.
don't quote me on that. That was just something I remember seeing a couple times. But yeah, I think you're very right. It's like they kind of have done, at least lately, haven't seen too many player side. They seem to be upping the dungeon master side, and then I think I've heard that like fall this year is when they're probably going to be releasing stuff.
Yeah.
They've been doing a bunch of Unearthed Arcana, so and all the play testing and stuff like that. So that's probably when we'll kind of see that shift back to the player side, because I'm sure with all that they're going to be re-releasing a bunch of player stuff. So very excited for that. The other thing about this adventure I thought would be kind of fun is that there's a little snippet here where this cinematic adventure will whisk you and your players across the multiverse from Forgotten Realms to Eberron, Dragonlance, Planescape, Greyhawk, and more, as you track down to try and thwart the Whispered One. And I read a little bit more. It's like I think there's like some sort of rod that the players have to go find like 7 pieces of or something like that. And I think that's this whole idea is you're going to these realms to find pieces to eventually fight him.
That's like classic. Who's the guy on the D&D team with the hat? We always see him with the hat.
Oh,
He's the DM.
Chris Perkins.
Chris Perkins. That was like
Yeah.
a classic thing from like his home game, I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
Like finding the 7 pieces of the rod.
There was a video that came out of
Something like that.
they
I'll have to look into
released
that.
with him. Yeah, they did have a video of him talking about Vecna specifically. So I'll have to go. There's more stuff that we definitely need to research about this. So it would be fun to do a deep dive, and once we get a little closer to that release date. But I was just first impressions. I was kind of like, one, that seems super fun that they're actually going to level 20, because I have always thought it was a little bit strange that you are a creator of a game that goes up to a certain level and you don't utilize those higher levels, if ever. And I get it. The game breaks like around like level 13 and up, right? Like you start getting to the game kind of breaks. And
As you get, like
I
5th
get
level
it.
spells, things just
Yeah.
kind of come off the rails a little bit.
So I get it, but I've always thought it a little bit strange that like if you create something, why do you never utilize this whole section of it. So I don't know. I think it is very much still reliant on DMs. But anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. But then also now they're utilizing like what Wizards of the Coast publishes. Like they publish in these different realms, and I think that's kind of cool to see them actually bring that into the adventure. It's supposed to be they said here it's supposed to be like a 256 page book. Yeah. So I wonder if there's going to be a lot of sections just talking briefly about each realm.
I mean, 30 new creatures, lore-filled dossiers on D&D figures. The thing I'm reading about this right now that I'm liking a lot, which I'm sure is going to be kind of the new norm coming into this new era of D&D Beyond being like your one-stop shop. Like it's your virtual tabletop. It's where you run your encounters. It's where your books are. It's where your characters are. Like it's your everything. Mm-hmm. They have a. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze.
Oh.
Nope. They have a like.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
They have like a digital physical bundle, which is like.
Yeah.
You can purchase it and you'll get both the physical book plus all of the digital resources. So you'll get the book on D&D Beyond. You'll also get all of the D&D Beyond stuff, which includes like being able to use it on D&D Beyond maps. And you'll have all 30 of the maps, and you'll have all of the creature tokens and player tokens and NPC tokens to use on D&D maps. It's basically the same thing as buying like the Roll20 version of a module that comes with all the pre-built maps and stuff. But now for D&D Beyond, they've got it themselves. So
yeah, and I've played around a little bit with the maps. It is pretty good. It's definitely still in early beta. Like you don't get as many stuff.
Not a lot
of
features.
Still using Roll20 because there's just more tools and stuff.
It's pretty bare bones.
Roll20 is like the whole surface actually just the interface just changed too. So I'm kind of relearning that.
Yeah, it's been updated.
Yeah, it's like D&D Beyond has some ways to catch up to these other ones.
I think
have been around for years now.
I think Roll20.
I've been enjoying it.
Yeah, I think Roll20 is like, oh shoot, like D&D Beyond's coming out with their own map thing. We better try and do all these updates we've been thinking about doing for the last 10 years.
Yeah, it's like oh, we got some competition again.
Yeah, so they've been up in their game, and to be fair, Roll20's gotten a lot better, even just in usability, because it used to feel like trying to code a website trying to run Roll20.
Yeah.
And they've shifted things a lot to where it's much easier to use just in the last year. Yeah.
Honestly, like the biggest thing right now that I've noticed the ease of is, and maybe it's just because I've bought the monsters on D&D Beyond.
Yeah.
But the tokens, putting the tokens into the maps have just been like you can just type in the name of the monster, you see it, you drag and drop the monster token.
And it's got the stats built in. It's got health. It's got and the crazy thing is
that's been the easiest thing.
and I've talked about this a little bit already, but with running Fandelver and below, this is one of the only times I've actually bought like the D&D version of the Roll20 stuff. So like I bought the Roll20 book, or I bought Fandelver and below on Roll20, and it comes with all the maps pre-built and all the tokens pre-built and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
This is the first time they've actually gone to the trouble of like all of the lighting is pre-built into the maps.
Oh.
They're all explorable. All of the tokens have the little bar at the top left that you can just click the buttons for their actions. You don't have to like go into the character sheet at all for the creatures. Like, I didn't realize they were doing that in Roll20. Like they're putting a lot of work into that. Because the last time I bought anything on Roll20 was for I guess it must have been for Curse of Strahd was the last thing I bought on Roll20, and that came out so long ago.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so like nothing is pre-built for that. I have to do it all myself. But like the new
Okay.
books, I guess they're doing a lot of
Well,
work. So
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I mean, more power to them, because I think that just saves like a dungeon master just so much
yeah,
time when, especially if it's kind of already done for you. I
yeah,
mean, you paid the money. It would be nice that you're also paying for, you know, them to take the time to do that for you. So,
right.
no, I approve of that, because that was the nice thing about, because I have Phandelver and Below on D&D Beyond, so that I used that one to just play around with the maps and stuff, and that was the thing I noticed. That was nice to have all the maps done. They already have, the goblins. You can just drag and drop them, and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I haven't played around with Roll20's stuff, because most of the things I've already have on D&D Beyond. But
Yeah, like for table play, I love D&D Beyond's encounter builder. It's
yeah.
so easy
Oh,
to
agreed.
make
I've been
quick
using that a
encounters
lot. Yeah.
in that. Um, if I'm already running it on Roll20, I'll just run it through Roll20.
Yeah.
But like playing at the table or for like a quick little one shot or something where I just need to throw something together, it's so nice being able to just go, what's monsters of this CR that my people can fight because they need to fight something around this level. Okay, I'll pull that. I'll pull that. Okay, this is now a hard encounter. Let's make it a little harder, and it'll like tell you how hard it is, like whether it's deadly or easy or whatever. Like, it's so nice just being able to throw stuff in and be like, okay, now initiative is tracked, monsters are tracked. I can just click it. There's their sheet. It's all ready to go. Health is tracked.
Ready to go.
It's so nice.
Oh yeah, big time. Well, I mean, that's kind of a great little transition into like my homebrew game that I've been doing. Yeah, the D&D Beyond encounters I've been using so much. It's very nice. I still think their whole rating system of like when you put it in, like it'll say it's a deadly encounter, and my players mop the floor with the encounter still.
Well,
so it's like that. That's a little.
But that problem lies in the system itself, not in the encounter builder. That's just power creep and CR meaning next to nothing anymore. And it's
no 100%. No, that's where it definitely has been at. And I mean, it's also hard because it's one of those things of you can't count for dice rolls. Yeah. It could be a medium encounter, but the players could just be rolling so bad and you rolling so good, it kills everyone, and then vice versa. So 100%. But it has been really nice, like you said, to just be able to like, so a little bit about the homebrew world that I'm going into. I'm kind of sticking right now to elementals. And so it's really nice to just be able to go to the elemental portion and just kind of look through and find certain things and kind of get inspired that way, especially with the homebrew world. I know we've talked a little bit about on the podcast before of just like, you can grab something and you don't have to stick with the lore pre-built. You can kind of mix and match it. And so that's what's also kind of fun is sometimes you can just look up these monsters and just kind of get a little inspired by just the look. It's like, so right now the players are about to go and fight a statue that's going to come to life, and I'm using some earth elemental stuff.
Cool.
So that was kind of fun to just be able to build it that way. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the ultimate villain that the players will eventually go up against.
Okay.
And I will preface this a little bit by I am pulling a little bit of inspiration from Princes of the Apocalypse adventure.
Okay.
Which is the coast one. I just was kind of going through there.
Princes of the Apocalypse deals a lot with like demons in the abyss, right?
No, that's out of the abyss, I believe. Prince of the Apocalypse is a bunch of elemental cults that are basically going around, and the players have to go kill these elements. There's like one of each. There's like an air, earth, fire, and water one. And there's like these pieces they have to get, but ultimately you learn that what's actually happening is I forget the name of this god, but it's actually that it's oh shoot, you see a little bit of it in campaign 2. Matt used it for that tiefling guy that took Yasha. I can't remember the name of that creature. It was like He Who Waits, the Great Oblivion.
Tharizdun?
Tharizdun, thank you. I think the ultimate evil is actually Tharizdun, who is like pretending to be this elemental eye, and so he is controlling these cults to ultimately try and bring him back. And so he's kind of pretending to be these other beings.
That's crazy. I don't think I've ever read the Princes of the Apocalypse adventure.
It's an interesting one. It's laid out very interestingly. It's probably 5 years old now, 4 or 5 years old. I think it came out in 2017. I think I'd have to go look that up. But anyway, it's a very interesting one. So I'm pulling some inspiration of it. But the reason why I'm kind of have did this is because we have talked a little bit about Kurtis's character Cormac, which in my world was a warlock, and it was very fun because way back in the day, Kurtis was like, I don't want to know anything about this patron that I'm serving. I stumbled upon this. This is what happened, and I made a pact with it. Or
it was an artifact.
Not made a pact. You like
from a temple.
Yeah, it was like an artifact, and you kind of fell asleep. You wind up killing your whole village, basically.
Yeah.
And so since then, you have kind of left, and you're kind of been using the power to kind of redeem yourself, or it was kind of supposed to be explored a little bit in the campaign, I think.
Yeah, it was like
Kurtis basically. Go for it.
From what I remember, it was like an artifact that he found that promised great power. There had been this like group of bandits that had been like screwing up his town that he and his father kind of built together. They had killed his father the last time they were there. And so he's been trying to like build up defenses and things. And he's like, well, maybe I can just protect it myself. So he builds this like artifact into his weapon, kills the guys when they come back next time all by himself, except the power's like so much that he like blows his own arm off. And then he's like, okay, great. And then he like puts the weapon in a drawer, forgets about it.
That's right. Yeah.
And then like a year later, it's like, hey, that was great and all, but I'm hungry again. Mm-hmm. And he keeps trying to resist it. And then one night he dreams that the bandits like come back somehow and attack again. And so he's having to like run around the town and like put out fires and kill them as they're like trying to raid and pillage. Then he wakes up and realizes he was raiding and pillaging and everything's on fire because of his fault, and he killed everybody.
It was very a wonderful backstory.
Very Kratos coded.
Yeah.
Very good story. But
yeah, it was very fun. And man, one day I think I'd love to talk about that character more and what I had planned. Because what I did was definitely such a cool idea. There was even a cool little side quest I had where Kurtis ran into the daughter of someone from the village that he wound up killing the daughter's father, and so she was hunting him down. It was really fun. It was really cool. But I wanted to kind of bring in some elements of that because I did a little bit of writing back in the day and some ideas of what that creature is that you served. And my idea was, so just a little bit of preface, in my homebrew world, the divine have been completely cut off from the material planes. No one knows what happened to it. There was a mad mage centuries ago that cut off the divine from the world, and no one knows what happened. Magic got completely flipped on its head. It started being very chaotic. So magic had to be relearned, and then the divine had to be sought out. And then ultimately angels and fiends kind of became a little bit more of a prevalent, quote unquote, I guess, divine force in the world. Mm. And so gods have kind of been done away with. The reason of this was back in the day, I didn't want to have to take the time to make a pantheon or have to learn the Forgotten Realms pantheon or any of those, because there's just so many and stuff like that. So it was kind of a fun way to me to just kind of strip all that away. And then if the players wanted to bring in a god, it's like, hey, I want to be a knowledge domain cleric. What kind of god would I serve? And I would kind of be like, oh, okay, well, let's build them together. And then I'll explain a little bit. In my world, the gods are gone. So this actually would be something very, very personal for you. Mm-hmm. You know, we could kind of build, the religion and the god and et cetera, et cetera. this led the way to make one of my favorite, which is a player wound up making the god of second breakfast in my world, which was amazing. And he wound up doing a bunch of writing on like teachings and stuff.
Halfling deity.
It just leads.
Great.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It really does lead to some really fun creativeness. It's not that way. It's also not just on me. The players can bring in a little bit of a story that they want to tell as well. Mm-hmm. So going back to Cormac was kind of like when that divide happened, when this mad mage cut off the divine, I had in my mind, well, what if there were pieces of certain gods on the material plane? So I kind of brought in this idea of Tharizdun. Tharizdun is an inky blackness type of creature. It was very similar to what you were describing in your backstory.
It's like an all-consuming... Tharizdun is like the all-consuming hunger, basically. It just...
Right.
Its goal is to eat the universe until there's nothing left, and then starve.
and then basically starve them.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful little thing to give, I guess, a player. So in my head, I was kind of like, okay, well, there were pieces of like warlocks that have made pacts with this creature, because Valiant, the land before it was discovered, was overrun by monsters, and so a lot of people had to kick out the monsters. So there were these wild tribes and things like that had made pacts with these old ancient creatures. And when the divide happened, pieces got left behind in the material realm. It basically severed from whatever happened to Tharizdun, because the name has been forgotten in my world.
Right.
And so Cormac, your character, had one of those pieces, found one of those pieces of Tharizdun. So that's why he was always so hungry. Well, I started introducing, like I had mentioned previously in my homebrew world, this aberration haunted house.
Yeah.
Of this warlock that made a pact with a creature. So I was kind of like, okay, I kind of want to bring in a little bit, like this is the tidbit that they learn, that there is a creature that is in the other planes, a piece of it is transforming and things like that. So what I'm doing is this is a piece of Tharizdun, and it is basically wanting to consume, but bringing in this other aspect of it. It's using people. So the players are now going to start uncovering a cult that is a elemental cult, that they think they are serving an elemental god from their plane, and they're trying to bring it into their world, but it's actually really Tharizdun. So that's kind of where the Princess of the Apocalypse idea is coming in. But it's a little bit one of those things of like the cult and everyone else thinks that it's this elemental, but the players secretly have seen signs of this creature.
It's like
this warlock family.
Basically what you said from Critical Role Campaign 2, it's like the Angel of Irons, which turned out to be the Chained Oblivion, Tharizdun. Yeah. So
exactly. So that's
cool.
That's kind of my idea right now, and I'm slowly building it and have these ideas. And so right now there's been some murders in the town that the city that they're in. So they'll start uncovering a little bit of a cult that's trying to start a war between two nations. So that's kind of where we are at currently. What's been so really fun about this and so different is that I'm keeping all of my notes in one notebook written by hand. It's something different. I'm trying. I actually have notes from the session are in red ink, and then my notes of like just the city, and I'm just kind of building it like almost session by session.
Yeah.
And I just write down these little ideas that I have, and it's been very organic and I don't know, very simple. I will say it's not like I'm over here, doing, this crazy amount of work going in behind the scenes and stuff like that. I'm just kind of pulling ideas from the characters because it's kind of designed to just be a simple campaign.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
but that's a little bit like.
What if you lose that notebook?
Oh gosh, that would be tragic.
See, this is why I don't do anything physical anymore. Like I would absolutely lose that and just be like, well, Anyway, this happens, and now you guys are going this way.
Well,
and start again.
Maybe I'll start. Maybe I'll start taking pictures.
No,
because it was one of those things that I was like, oh, I didn't think of that until Kurtis just mentioned that.
You need to get one of those like remarkables, those
yes,
tablet, not tablets.
I would actually love to eventually get. I think they're just a little bit too overpriced personally, but I've heard really good stuff about it.
One day. I love that idea of like even the people following this cult and doing the things for this god or creature or whatever they think it is don't even know that what's actually like pulling the strings, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Much less the characters. Like, I love that idea that the characters are like, yeah, they all say they're following this, you know, whatever it is, this being. They might not even think they're following anything. They're just living their lives as non. Like, one of my ideas in my world is that, you know, each continent has its own like patron deity, but that the continent, like the city continent that like came up with all this technology and all this innovation and things like that, they don't think the gods exist, even though they have a patron deity of like innovation and
that's so interesting,
experimentation and technology. That's their god, but they don't think gods exist because they're too caught up in their own innovation. They think they made everything, but really they've been given the tools and the inspiration from the very beginning from a god. It's just the god likes to sit back and not like, he doesn't need to be like, his sustenance comes from them constantly innovating. And so
gotcha.
If they're worshiping something, something instead of innovating, then he loses out. He'd rather them just keep making things and creating new things and innovating and stuff. Because in my world, it's like the gods don't necessarily live off of worship. They live off of people doing their, people living out their portfolio. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, that's cool. That's a cool way of thinking that. Yeah.
Like if you're a god of death, you gain power when people kill things or when things die, right? You don't gain power from people worshiping you because things die. You gain power from the actual act of death.
Interesting.
So like the different gods have different ways of ruling their places because they want people to exemplify their tenets. And so they've done different things to make the places follow those tenets better. And this guy decided, well, if they know they have a god, what reason do they have to create things? So instead,
it's like what
I'll stay in the shadows and just give them inspiration.
Yeah. It's like they would stop inventing things and
worship me,
ask me to do everything for them. And it's like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's cool.
I really like that idea of like a deity in the shadows, like not even the people worshiping it and doing what it wants them to do know what really it is. I love that idea. It's cool.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a wonderful kind of, in this case, what's really cool about this is that it's a wonderful combination of other planes, right? So I kind of get to take some time in my homebrew world to kind of start thinking about these other planes as well and kind of how they start, you know, maneuvering. And then, you know, in my homebrew setting, what actually happened with when the divine kind of got separated from the planes. I mean, it's kind of a way of like, that's kind of when the planes kind of all became very sectioned off, if you will, very hard to pass between them. So it's one of those ways of also like, what can happen? What happened to the gods? Like what happens when you go to these other planes? How do you get back and things like that? It's kind of fun for me to also start just thinking of lore behind them. Like, so one of the characters, Ethan's not huge. Like he wants to, he's not huge fan. Like he likes his current character, but he wants to redo his current character. So that character is going to be leaving and he's going to be rejoining as an astral elf. and so
Yes.
he's going to be coming from the astral sea and kind of getting pulled into the mortal realm, if you will. And so that's also going to be really fun. So we've kind of been working on astral sea. So it's fun to kind of think of the planes in a homebrew setting. I don't know. It's really creative.
Yeah, it's my multiverse is like so simplistic in my game. It's like there's like 3 planes, I think, 4 planes. And that's it.
Well,
everything else is like dimensions, and it's way simpler.
Yeah, I love that. And that's why I think I kind of want to get to a place where I want to simplify stuff. Like, instead of having 4 different realms of like the elementals, I'm kind of thinking like, well, what if it was just the elemental plane, and then it was kind of more like the hells, and like, so there's different layers of the elemental plane, and that's where you get the different ones.
Oh, right.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
In mine, there's 3 full planes, but then there's borders. So technically there's 5 because there's the material, and then there's the 2 borders, and then there's an upper plane and a lower plane. The upper plane's like the realm of dreams and where your mind can create things and things come to be just because you think it, kind of a thing. And then the lower plane is like ultimate simplistic, non-variable, like abyss, like nothing happens, time doesn't pass, like, and it's just a never-ending darkness, basically. So
I love it.
Yeah,
I just love homebrew worlds.
It's really fun.
I love the creative, and
it's so much fun to just
because
think of stuff.
It really, it's fun to also kind of be world building this and just have it in your head and even writing it down. But then when a player comes in and wants to, like, having an astral elf join, it's like, okay, so now that part of the world is going to really come to life, and not just be on the page. Now it kind of comes in, and I guess it's like, it's one of those things of like, when you write a book or when you produce a movie or something like that, it's one of those things now you get to share it with people, and that's when it becomes real. So I love homebrew worlds.
Yeah, it's great. Well, speaking of worlds and things that are and aren't homebrew, we're gonna move over to a non-homebrew thing. How's that for a segue?
Kurtis did the nice transition. I love it. Little segue.
Thanks. So we're gonna get back a little bit into my Friday night game, this long-term campaign that I've been a part of with my my wizard character Callan.
We just realized that Cal Kestis is very close to Kurtis's.
Yeah, I did not realize that apparently I took all of my naming conventions from Star Wars. And the character in Star Wars named Cal Kestis is very close to my character named Callan Kestrel. And I did not intend to do that whatsoever. I just like alliteration.
It worked well. Yours is case. So
it's case.
It worked.
It's case.
It's different. It's 20% different.
Also, the reason I picked Kestrel is because I really like kestrels. They're really cool birds. Anyway,
hey.
So the last time we talked about Cal and his pals, the Trouble Seekers,
was months ago.
Was months ago for us. Months and months ago. So I'll do kind of a brief overview, and I'm gonna put it out here. I'm gonna start being a little less detail heavy, and just kind of start talking like overview of the story and where we've done. Now, don't get me wrong, the story has picked up and it's gotten a lot quicker, and kind of more exciting, but there's still a lot of details that it would just take me forever to recount everything if I just did every little detail.
Here's the thing. It's like, if you want to experience the one that Kurtis is going through, like, you could go buy Curse of the Crimson Throne.
Yeah.
Like, it's a Pathfinder adventure that they're running. Dip is an amazing dungeon master, and he sticks pretty close to the book. He's probably one of the best dungeon masters I have seen who does pre-written adventures. He does it so well. So by all means, if this like just like, oh, I want to go learn more about this, or I want to find out what happens at the end, by all means, you can go pick up that story. They're they're amazing reads. Pathfinder does a great job with their writing of adventures. They're very entertaining.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
just throwing that out there.
So from kind of here on out, it's going to be more of a broad overview of Cal and his story.
Yeah.
If there's like huge character moments, I'll hop into those a little bit. But for the most part, we're just going to kind of talk about the story and how it moves. Now, Dip, if you're watching, this does not mean I don't want you to send me Dip's notes anymore, but just realize that if I leave something out, it's because it's a broad overview, okay? If I get something wrong, by all means, send me some Dip's notes. But don't, like last time I left out the mansion.
Don't at me.
That we went to, and he was like, that was such a big thing. You got to talk about that. And I was like, okay. So anyway,
we love you, Dip.
Last time we left off, I actually forgot about the mansion. It wasn't that I left it out on purpose. So he was right. To talk about it.
Hey,
no, but
totally get it.
But last we left off, from what I remember, we were just finishing basically Act 2 of the campaign. We had infiltrated this cult of the evil goddess Urgathoa, who is the goddess of like sickness and disease. and plagues and things like that. We had infiltrated a secret temple of hers under the city, basically under this hospice. If you remember, the city is in basically the city of Korvosa is in a citywide plague right now, called Bloodveil, where pretty much if you get it, you're dead, kind of a thing. You can go
sad.
You can go get healed, but other than like divine magic, there's pretty much no known way to treat and get rid of it. However, there are these people called the Queen's physicians, who the Queen is, we're realizing kind of the problem here. The Queen's physicians have been going around saying they're treating people and they're trying to find a cure. Well, what we've discovered is the Queen's physicians are the cult of Urgathoa. And there are other people working
really interesting
with them and with the Queen. Another group of another faction called the Red Mantis Assassins.
We just learned that.
Who in Golarion, in this Pathfinder world, are a worldwide organization of these sort of it's like an assassin religion, basically. They follow this Red Mantis god who was apparently the assassin of the gods, and was like one of the only things that would kill gods. And they follow this thing, and so they have their strict rules. Like if they get a contract, they fill it out, and they have specific rules, like they don't kill rightful monarchs and all these different things. Like they have a structure and a lot of rules. It's a lot like the Dark Brotherhood kind of in Skyrim, if you think about it that way. They have structure, and they kind of gain their structure from like a divine means. But they're worldwide infamous. Everybody knows about the Red Mantis, and the fact that they're involved here can only be bad, basically. And then there was a third faction, which is... Shoot, now my brain's going blank. It's basically the Queen, the cult, and the Red Mantis, basically, and they're kind of like all working together. And we realized
real
that
quick on the Red Mantis. Do you have to have like some pretty crazy connections in order to contact them? Is it one of those things that like are they like super expensive and they really only work for like higher up people type of thing? From is it one of those things like the Queen is working with them, so it's like, okay, so the Queen has some connections. I mean, I know she's nobility. She probably has the backing of a kingdom
of
worth of gold, but
From what I understand, it's like anybody can make a contract with the Red Mantis.
Okay.
You got to know who to talk to, and it probably costs a ton of money, at least depending on the job. But so far as I know, they're not like exclusive or anything like that. It's like you pretty much anyone, they'll take any contract for anything other than they have rules. It's like if there's a rightful monarch, you can't just have them go assassinate this rightful monarch. Like they won't do that.
Right.
They try to make sure society does not like just fall apart because of what they do. But they are still evil. They do assassinate people and will take any job for basically any money. Doesn't matter who it is.
Cool.
So basically it's the cult mixed with the physicians who are also Red Mantis, and it's all mixed up in this awful little pile of, the queen's like pulling a ton of strings and she's having all these people do all this stuff. The cult are the ones who made the disease. But we got rid of the cult. We found a cure for the disease and have started spreading it through the city. Basically, the way the disease works is it's like an anti-disease where if one person gets inoculated with the cure, they can spread it. Basically the same way a disease would be spread. So if they touch somebody, if they sneeze on somebody, they are now also inoculated from Bloodveil. And
that's very nice.
So like while they're also, distributing the cure, because it takes a long time to make it, it's also very helpful that it spreads on its own. But it's still going to take a long time because the city's in lockdown. Like people don't want to come out of their homes. So it's not like it's going to spread fast. It would be like if in the middle of the COVID situation, something came out and they were like, okay, now go talk to everybody because then it's going to spread. And it's like, you've been telling me not to do that for a year and a half. I'm not going to do that. Like, I don't want to get out of my house. Like,
yeah, exactly. It'd be such a transition.
Yeah.
From what you've been told. Yeah.
So it's going to take a long time for the city to recover. Much less rebuild. So at this point, we're kind of like, well, how do we know we got to go after the queen. We know we got to figure out what's going on. How do we do this? Well, as we're kind of like trying to figure that out and letting the cure take its course, an announcement has been made that the queen is going to address the city again. Okay. And from what we know, we're like, okay, well, we have proof that she's bad. Like we have proof connecting these people to her, the cult and everything. And so we've shown that to Cressida Croft, who is the city guard captain lady.
Yes.
Or at least we've told her about it. And so she's like, okay, well, we can't just move against her. We got to figure out what we're going to do and things like that. But while we're trying to figure this out, the queen basically addresses the city and says, hey guys, everything's looking up. This cure is going well. Everything's good. I did not know that those physicians were cultists. I'm so sorry about that. Was not my fault. I didn't know. I trusted Dr. Reiner, but we discovered them. Don't worry. We took them out. They're not going to hurt anybody anymore, and we've got the cure, and we're going to spread it to the city.
Basically, she took your credit.
Going out from under us and saying, like, don't worry, everything's fine. The cult's gone now. Everything's going to be okay.
Oh, that's how you make a villain. You have the villain take the credit for what the players did.
And so basically what happens now is she's like, okay, now, anyway, this just shows me that I can't really trust other people anymore. People keep trying to take the city down. I'm going to enact she doesn't say this, but basically she's enacting martial law to where her Gray Maidens, which are this like elite force of warriors that she's been training of all like women, who are her like personal guard now. They are basically the city guard now. The city guard is still there and still doing their jobs because it's a big city. They still need the numbers, but they take all their orders from Grey Maidens. Like Grey Maidens are the de facto people that now basically keep the city safe.
It's basically like the Empire in Star Wars working with a small like militia group on a certain planet or something like that.
It's like if martial law happens in a town, the police will help, but the military are the ones actually doing all the work.
That makes sense. Okay.
So
very interesting.
Basically, this means that she's in total control. You know, if you want to be safe, you have to be on her good side, kind of a thing. And now she says, also, this seneschal guy's been missing way too long. The seneschal was the only one in the castle who could have like challenged her rule, but he went missing when the king died. So the seneschal also was the guy who ran and the only guy who could give orders to this previous elite force of Griffin riders that were basically the previous version of the Grey Maidens. But they didn't serve the crown, they served the seneschal, and that kept them in check. It made sure that the crown could never like do what the queen is doing now. But without the seneschal there, they can't have orders, and without having orders, they can't do anything. They can't actively move against the queen unless they're like ordered to. So at this point, she's like, and also those guys, those Griffin riders, they're basically traitors. They keep trying to undermine me. They won't do what I tell them to. So I'm completely disbanding them. They're gone. And then their leader, the leader of those Griffin riders, and I'm saying Griffin riders because I can't remember what they're called, but he jumps out of the crowd and goes,
"Oh God,
nope, it's too much. You're doing too much. This won't stand anymore," and shoots a crossbow in her face. Okay. Hits her.
Really?
Hits her.
Okay.
Crossbow hits her right in the temple. She turns and looks at him and pulls the crossbow out of her head.
Oh my God.
The wound heals nearly instantly. And she kills him right then and there. Instantly kills him.
Like power word kill?
No,
or like
I think I don't remember the exact things. I think she basically like shoved it back into him, like killed him. Or maybe her guard killed him. But he dies. And she just took what should be a fatal wound to any regular monarch and walked it off like it was nothing. Pulled it out of her own head.
This reminds me a little bit of like Ketheric Thorm in Baldur's Gate 3, where it takes this halberd or whatever it was to the chest and it's fine. So that's
she's got some kind of power, and now it's known that she's not to be messed with. And that we can't mess with her. Like, we were starting to think of, like, are we going to just storm the castle? Like, what are we going to do? How do we do this?
Oh, God.
And now we're like, well, somebody tried that and didn't go well. So we're like, well, now we got to figure out what's happening. How does she have this power? Where does this come from? And so we are told, basically, we need to find the seneschal, because he's the only one that can like challenge her, and he might know what's going on. Now
you are told by who? By Cressida?
I believe Cressida tells us that like this isn't good. Like I'm losing power every day. I'm not going to move against her because that's suicide at this point. I'm going to keep doing what I can to protect the people of the city, however I can.
So she's kind of taking the quest role giver type of thing.
A little bit.
The role of
just because she's the most like important person we know who isn't pleading fealty to the queen, you know what I mean? She wants what's best for the city, and so she's doing everything she can without like losing her position. Because if she loses her position, she can't do anything. But that position gives us some benefits. So the main problem now is the queen now knows that we're a problem. She knows we did what we did. She knows we took down the cults. She knows we know that she was involved. So we're like, okay, we probably have targets on our backs now. We need to be real careful. She's not going to go out and just try and kill us, because it is also known that we helped. Like, we're good guys in the city. The city knows us.
Okay.
They know that we made the cure. They know that we helped. They know that. But basically what the queen did was like, they did it for me kind of a thing. Like, I told them to do it.
Right.
So she can't just kill us in the streets. But but if we get caught doing something we're not supposed to do, we're dead, basically. But we decide that we need to find the seneschal, and Cressida's like, I know who might know where they are. And basically she says we need to go to Old Corvosa, which is the quarantined place, and it is still quarantined because it was way worse than any of the rest of the city. And so they have the cure and it's getting better, but it's still terrible there. Things have gone off the deep end. And so she's like, you need to go find the seneschal, and if he is anywhere in the city, and if there's anyone who knows where he is in the city, it's going to be in Old Corvosa. Basically, she's like, you need to find Orsini.
Okay. The Zorro guy?
Vencarlo, who is the guy we think is the Zorro guy. We still have not confirmed that yet. But Vencarlo Orsini is a very well-known figure in the city. He was one of the only people to openly say he doesn't like the queen. At least the only important person to do that. And we know that he worked quite heavily with Cressida and was good friends with her and the seneschal. So
very cool. Okay.
She's like, go look for him. Like we know he went into hiding, but he didn't leave the city. He should still be there somewhere. And he might be able to help. So we devise a plan. Unless he died from the
plague.
Sure. We devise a plan. We have to get into Old Corvosa without knowing we're in Old Corvosa, because if Grey Maidens find us there, we're not find us there, but if they see us crossing, we're dead, because we're not supposed to go over there.
Right.
So what we decide is Cal casts water breathing on everybody, and we go out to the outside of the city and curve around and then just walk under the river into the Old Corvosa docks.
Nice.
Like something out of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, that's great.
And kind of make our way there, because they're watching all the other entrances, so we make our way in through there.
Brilliant. I love it.
So we go to Old Corvosa and we start realizing that things got just worse and worse and worse there. It's been a while since we've been there. Basically, there's no actual guarding being done anymore. It's basically been left to its own devices. There's not really Grey Maidens on the streets. They're just kind of watching the entrances and exits. Like, nobody gets in or out, but they're not doing any policing. So it's kind of gone to garbage. There's we find out pretty quickly after getting there that there is an artist that we need to look for, as well as so basically we go to Orsini's Academy, which has been burned down. It apparently got burned down at some point, just through riots or whatever happened.
By riots or
we don't know.
Deliberately, we don't know.
But then we're like, okay, well, he's not going to be there. We go to Orsini's house, and when we get to Orsini's house, we go inside and we start looking around for Orsini. We're like, hey, maybe he's just hiding out here. Maybe he's got like a secret room or something. Yeah. While we're there, we get jumped by, you want to guess who?
Oh goodness. Is it is it by the person you're looking for, or are you
Nope.
just gonna like? Is it gonna be the nephew, the necromancer guy?
No. We get jumped by Red Mantis assassins.
Oh, that's fun. They are
Uh,
out to get you guys.
They are out to get us, and apparently also just waiting in this house in case Orsini comes back because they're out to get him too.
That's amazing. I love it.
However, they're like ready to burn down the house. And so
Okay.
then we're like, oh, so we know they burned down his academy too. We fight these red mantis. There's only 2 of them, so it doesn't go too terribly. We take them out pretty easily.
This is more for me as a game master curious. Were they rogues? Were they a little bit of magic-y?
Yeah, they're
fighters?
like assassin
I know it's a little bit
rogues.
play. Okay.
And they have some like magical items that help them, like their mask helps them see better and stuff. And then they have like an ability called Fascinate, which is like based on mantises, where they will like twist their swords in like a dance. And if
cool.
And if you see it, you become fascinated, and so you're just like,
that's
like
fun.
hypnotized by it.
Like a hypnotic pattern type of thing.
Well, it's like in your vision,
dance.
you become like hypnotized by it if you fail this save. And in Pathfinder, they have this thing where if you remain hypnotized by this for 3 full rounds, they can do what's called a coup de grace, which in Pathfinder is a thing you can do when people are like unconscious or things like that. It's like a special ability. Basically, it is an instant kill. It is a beheading. And so it doesn't matter how much health you have. It doesn't matter. None of that matters.
It's dead. It's not into its.
If they keep you hypnotized for 3 full rounds while they're like moving up to you, as soon as they get up to you and you're just like dumbfounded, they can just go whoosh and just cut your head off and you're dead. Instantly dead. Instantly.
Wow. That's fun.
Super cool. So they have other things too, like when they were bloodied, they would activate this like veil type thing that was like a red mist that would cover them. And what that did was when they would die after, their bodies would be like consumed. Their bodies would disappear so that we couldn't find out their identity or use any magic to like talk to them and get information out of them.
I love that. That's cool. There's a ring I love. There's magical ring in D&D Beyond. It's magical item. It's like once you fall to 0 hit points, it outright kills you. It's called like loyalty ring or something. Mm-hmm. I know I've used that on a few. I love that idea that like, oh yeah, so it's also so you can't speak with dead as well. So it's not that you just can't be questioned. It's also you can't be questioned after death.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah, your body just disintegrates. It's just gone. But we fight these guys. We kill them. We keep the house from being burned down. We search the house. In doing this, we don't find like a secret passageway necessarily, but we do find a secret compartment, which finally confirms all of our suspicions because we find the secret compartment with a trunk in it that we pull out and open, and it has all of Blackjack's gear in it. And we're like, oh, okay, he's Batman. Like this is his
Yay!
This is his little
Kurtis.
thing that has the bat suit in it and his sword and stuff, and we're like, okay, we've got it. He's Blackjack. We know it for sure now. It was like in his bedroom closet, in this little secret compartment that we found. So it is confirmed.
Oh, that's fun.
And we decide, hey, if he's in trouble, maybe we should bring this with us so that we can give it to him when we find him. So we stuff all of his gear into our bag of holding.
Nice.
But
so it also confirms that he hasn't been back here then.
Exactly.
He's still somewhere else.
And he's also not out and about being Blackjack. He's really in hiding. Or something happened to him. So at this point, we're like, well, we don't know where he is. But we go outside and we find one of his students has been hiding out around here trying to wait for him to come back. One of his students that didn't die in the fire of his dojo. So his student comes and finds us and says, hey, you guys are looking for him too? I've been kind of waiting for him here I might know of a way you might be able to find him. And he says he had a friend who was like an artist here, a really important artist, who he saw him briefly before everything kind of went down. He might know where he is because he's good friends with him. And I know for a fact this artist is in the custody of this guy who has imposed himself as Old Corvosa's new king.
Oh, okay.
Just some crazy guy who's taken the fact that Old Corvosa's all cut off and has decided he's Old Corvosa's king now. And he says he just took him and is making him like do paintings for him. So maybe you can go deal with that and find him there. And so we start heading that way. This king guy, this mad king, and this whole section reminded me a lot of like Alice in Wonderland and like the Queen of Hearts. This mad king used to run an establishment in Old Corvosa that was basically like a snuff film choose your own adventure building.
Okay.
Basically like he would have people be on stage. Like it was the place where like there'd be people that do like the skin hooks and like spin around on like skin that kind of place. Like there's gore and just like the worst things people could be into, he provides.
Wow. Okay.
And now he has kind of gone crazy with everything going on and has imposed himself as the king of Old Corvosa. So,
okay,
we have a direction. We finally know what we're doing. We've got to find these people. We've got to find the seneschal, and we think the only way to find him is to find Orsini, and the only way to find Orsini is to find this artist. So we've got our trail. We're following it. We'll pick up there next time, and I'll probably get all the way through this third chapter. That we're in.
That's amazing, and also I can totally see why suddenly it crazy like sped up on the rails from you did this, and now the queen's like, oh yes, I got to get ahead of them, and immediately takes the credit. It's like, don't worry about it. This was totally I knew about this.
If there was any doubt before of her being evil and us needing to take her down and not just, because some of us up to that point we're still kind of thinking like maybe it's just the factions doing this, maybe she's being truthful, maybe she is trying to help and it's just the city's gone to crap.
Or manipulated or
whatever.
Or whatever.
Now we know she needs to be put down. Except now we know that we can't do that because she's seemingly immortal. And so we got to figure out what to do. Things are on a much faster track.
Also a great way to demonstrate that too. That's like, by the way, she might be a later level boss, everybody. Okay.
Somebody tried to assassinate her and should have succeeded, but she survived a killing blow. So
very, very fun. So I guess with final thoughts here, that's incredible. That sounds amazing that you kind of have finally got to that point of one now is like, it kind of, I feel like it almost rallies the group at this point of like, okay, we are taking down someone that's going to take over the city that we love. And so it rallies, I think, the group a little bit, gives you all kind of a heading. And I love this little mystery that's going on. You got to grab people and things like that. Now, I know Cal, for like up to this point, has always thought that the queen's in cohorts with evil people. Now that it's kind of confirmed, was Cal kind of over here like, yes?
Well, and Cal had up to this point a couple of times been like, whether she's a good queen or a bad queen, she's still technically the queen.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, maybe we need to do things her way. Maybe we need to try and fix the city because maybe what the city just needs is stability. And so
That's
maybe
fair.
if we could fix a couple of these problems for the queen and make things stable, everything will settle down, everybody will relax, and things will go fine. It was then we realized that the queen would not be happy with just things getting stable and safe again. She wants complete and utter control. And she wants...
And who knows where it could outstretch from here. Once she conquers this city and they all are on her side, what's to stop her from going to other cities? Also, now she's in cohorts with a worldwide assassination group. Who knows what that's going to be able to do.
Well. And so that's
kind of fun.
Cal was never like, oh, she's not a bad person. But he was also like, she's the queen and maybe... like she deserves to rule. Like if the king really did just die of normal circumstances, like technically she's the ruling monarch. Like she should be.
It's like that's the system of a monarch for you. Like you may not like it, but there's a reason.
And it was not really until it was proven that she's not going to be happy with just ruling. Like she's tyrannical. And wants to enslave people and just rule everything and possibly expand, that he started realizing, okay, well, we can't just let that happen. So, he's at least happy that there's a direction now and that they don't have to be confused and fighting each other all the time about what the right course of action is. Now it's obvious what the right course of action is. And
it has indeed rallied the group then.
He's happy to have a direction. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you for story time with Kurtis here in the backyard. I absolutely adore it. Thank you so much. Thank you all for watching our little podcast over here on our little corner of the internet. We really do appreciate you. And we'll be back with more Fandelver and Below adventure and shenanigans and seeing what the book has and what the group has for us, and then we'll continue on knowing what Cal is all about, and I might do a little bit more on the characters of what's going on in the homebrew world. So and then we'll whatever happens with Vecna, whatever happens with D&D 1D&D and all that great stuff. So
we'll talk about it.
Stuff to talk about. Well, thank you, Kurtis, and thank you. I think today's secret word should be, oh man, what did you call when after the 3 rounds the mantises are able to do what?
That's something? Technically 3 words. It's coup de grace. It's French. Let's just do mantis. How about that?
Mantis. I think that's a great one. Today's mantis. Secret word. Okay.
It's a great word. I love mantises. Crazy.
I love that ability too, man. I'm gonna go get some fun ideas from Pathfinder monsters.
Yeah, dude. All right, everybody.
We'll see you next time here on the Backyard Tabletop. Bye-bye.